And welcome back to Delmarva Sports Insider. It's time to talk some MLB. We're talking to Dan Clark. He's actually in Australia right now, so he's up early talking to us, but he's usually over here in the States covering the Orioles. Now, Dan, this team has really hit a rough point in the season. The pitching staff has surrendered 5 or more runs in 20 straight games, mostly because of the starting rotation. Now, Dan, what are you seeing as the issue here?
As we've seen, a lot of that's coming from really poor starts. Jimenez continues to surprise us that he's in that rotation, and he's continually struggling with the rare good outing here and there. Gaussman's been terrible. He's just not the pitcher that we expected to see this year. He hasn't taken that next step. It's quite concerning. Bundy and Miley, after some really encouraging signs early in the season, especially with Bundy, they've both regressed considerably. I don't know. I mean, Roger McDowell, new pitching coach. If we're going to look at some results, his results haven't delivered. So I guess we've got to question if there's an issue there. Obviously, we've had some changes behind the dish with Castillo instead of Weeders. So has that had an impact? I'm not sure. The team's just very low on confidence at the moment, and it's showing.
The Orioles starting rotation, really the negative talk of the MLB right now, but it can be fixed. The trade deadline is approaching. Definitely some moves will need to be made somewhere, somehow, to bring some pieces in. Now, thinking long term, the draft just passed this week. The Orioles had the chance to pick up some new pieces. Now, if you're a starting pitcher, you might be a little worried watching the trajectory of Kevin Gausman. But what would you say about this year's draft class? How did they do?
I guess my concern again is they've gone after some starting pitching, and this organisation has shown that it hasn't really been able to develop starting pitching in the recent history. So, like anything, I think our farm's pretty bare as it is at the moment. I think it's, and we can go into that further later on. I think that it's time to sell as the trade deadline nears and retool with further talent, because I'm not sure if what we've drafted is going to be enough, to be honest.
Yeah, you mentioned the trade deadline. I foresee at least several changes being made. Buck Showalter really needs to shake things up. Now, we got to talk about this lineup. The Orioles prided themselves on their power. They thrived on the long ball, and they came into this season really relying on that. Then J.J. Hardy gets hurt. He goes down, and Jonathan Scope, he's doing pretty well. Some guys, pleasant surprises. Some guys, not so pleasant surprises. At this point in the season, what's the complexion of this lineup?
I mean, with Hardy going down, look, Hardy had a really poor year. Obviously, he hadn't produced the numbers we'd wanted to see with the bat, but I think people are also forgetting that he probably struggled defensively as well, and it probably might not show so much in the errors column, but he certainly lost some range. There's certainly some balls that even Davis has helped him out quite a lot, picking out of the dirt. I think Hardy won't be there next year. Obviously, his injury, it probably gives guys like Tejada and Yarnish a chance, but they're not the long-term replacements either. They're going to have an interesting decision to make around Machado soon. Again, if they're going to become sellers as the deadline nears, it's probably worth putting it out there and seeing what they could potentially get in return from Machado. But if there's long-term plans to keep him within the organisation.
Well, Dan, I think having you on our show may be good luck for the Orioles. They did just down the Tampa Bay Rays 8-3, snapping that streak of giving up at least 5 runs, 20 straight games. Dan, thank you so much. We'll check in with you within coming weeks on the Orioles. That's all we've got right now on them, though. Coming up after the break, we reveal our plays of the week. We're going to have some fun with this one. You won't want to miss them. Stay tuned.
I'm Jack Wheely. I'm a pitcher for Easton High School, and you're watching Delmarva Sports Insider.